Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhotade Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Dev Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. This is Srimad Bhagavatam Day. I understand our host family has very happily received Srimad Bhagavatam, and I'm sure they're very happy to hear messages from the Srimad Bhagavatam, which they will be reading as time passes. I think this little boy needs a place where he can run around and be happy. Before Ram Navami, we were discussing several chapters from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, where teachings of Prahlada were the focus. Chapter 5, Chapter 6, Chapter 7, Chapter 8. We covered a lot. And now we're going to begin, but not complete because it's a long chapter, Chapter 9. Chapter 9 of Canto 7 is Prahlada pacifies Lord Nrsingadev with prayers. So there's teachings of Prahlada, and now he's with Lord Nrsingadev. It's prayers to Lord Nrsingadev. Now the whole purpose, according to what Prahlada Maharaj says in chapter 10, is the personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu or Lord Nrsingadev, because Prahlada is a Vaikunthavasi. He is a resident of Vaikuntha in consciousness, and we also heard the last couple of days, he has a place in this earthly realm even today. He has a place in the spiritual realm, eternally. And he has a place in the pastimes of Lord Nrsingadev when he appears on earth for the purpose of fulfilling the request made of Lord Vishnu to help deal with Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakasipu. So he does exactly that. In the latter part of chapter 8, now we're going to be discussing chapter 9. In the latter part of chapter 8, Hiranyakasipu was intimidating Prahlada so badly that Lord Nrsingadev appeared from a pillar. And there was a big fight, but it was a fun fight because Lord Nrsingadev was just playing with him like a wasp plays with an insect. And he stung him. He finished him. And then after Hiranyakasipu was finished, the assistants of Hiranyakasipu by the thousands came charging at Lord Nrsingadev. And so Lord Nrsingadev manifested many arms, and he was roaring, and he finished them all. The demigods were very happy. Hiranyakasipu was finished. But Lord Nrsingadev kept roaring in anger. So the demigods offered prayers, the long section, demigods offered prayers one by one. And it's a really nice way to understand their nature and their relationship with Supreme Lord, because it's revealed in the very way that they offer their prayers. Their personality and their relationship with him are disclosed within the prayer. He was still roaring with anger. And so the demigods approached Prahlada, little Prahlada. They're demigods. We're going to hear. Even the goddess of fortune, she was intimidated by this fierce feature of eternal associate, eternal consort, Lord Vishnu. Because there's no demons in Vaikuntha, right? There's no demons in Vaikuntha. And that's one of the reasons why the two gatekeepers, you know the background? Do you boys know the background? Jai and Vijay, the gatekeepers of Vaikuntha. Anybody know about them? No? You two know about them. You know about them? Jai and Vijay? Yeah? No, but this boy sitting in the chair, he knows. At least he says he knows. In Vaikuntha, there are many nice services of eternal associates of Narayana. And one of those nice services are the gatekeepers. There's a nice, let's go back. Go back a little bit. One time, Lord Narayana wanted to take rest. So he told Jai and Vijay, guard the door, don't let anybody in because I'm going to take rest. That was the order of Lord Narayan. And so they were at the door. Inside the room was Narayana taking rest. He doesn't need to take rest, but he was taking rest. And the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, wanted to enter. They said, sorry, you can't enter. Lord Narayan is resting. She was very unhappy with Jai and Vijay. So she didn't do anything, say anything. But later, when Lord Narayana was finished taking rest, Lakshmi entered. And Lakshmi said, these two gatekeepers of yours, they didn't let me in. They should be severely punished. Now, husbands, what to do in a situation like that when your wife, what to speak of the goddess of fortune, is wanting something. But the persons that she's wanting the something to be done to is simply doing what you asked them to do. Maybe they were lacking in some discrimination of how to do what he asked them to do. But they were just being obedient to his order. What to do. What to do. So a pastime was enacted whereby, of course, time in the spiritual world is eternal, but we speak as if time is not eternal. And the two gatekeepers, Jai and Vijay, because they intimately associate with Narayana, they understood his nature. When you intimately serve someone, associate with someone, what to speak of serve someone, you come to know their inner moods. They don't even have to say anything, you know it, because of your closeness to them. So they knew that Lord Narayana, he enjoys sometimes having a tussle. And there's no tussle in Vaikuntha. So they prayed to him. They didn't say to him, but they prayed to him. If you so desire, we can do that service. We can be in a role that's adversarial to you, and then you can have the tussle. Of course, you'll win, but then your desire for chivalrous exchange will be fulfilled. If you so desire, we can do that service. So now we have, it's not a conflict. It looks like a conflict. In this world, there's conflicts. In the spiritual world, it only looks like there's conflict. So the conflict is Lakshmi wants Narayan to reprimand or punish Jai and Vijay. Jai and Vijay want to have a service where they can be in opposition to their Lord and Master for his satisfaction. Prabhupada describes sometimes a king will keep a wrestler or two. And the wrestler or two, it's their job to give whooping to the king because he enjoys a lashing. And they toss each other around, and it looks adversarial, but it's a service that the wrestler performs to satisfy not the aggressiveness, but the chivalry of the king. And they'll say chivalrous things to one another, and it's part of chivalrous life. But it's a service. The mood is the service. So they wanted to do that service for Lord Narayana. And then so a situation was arranged by Lord Narayana so that those two things could be fulfilled. And the situation was arranged that the four Kumaras, you know who the four Kumaras are? Do you know who the four Kumaras are? No idea. Any idea? Four Kumaras. The four Kumaras, they're twins. Sanat Kumar, Sananda Kumar, etc. Four Kumaras. And they were direct sons, the firstborn sons of Lord Brahma. You know who's Lord Brahma? Yes, you know who's Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma is the first created being. Lord Brahma is the first created being. And Lord Brahma appeared directly from the body of Vishnu. Sort of detail. But Lord Brahma is the firstborn living being, and his service to Lord Vishnu was to take the ingredients for creation, the plan for creation, the Shrishti Shakti, the power to make the creation happen and put the universe together. Kind of like a big engineer. You know what engineering is. People built this building. Before they built the building, there was an engineering plan. There was an architectural and engineering plan. and where all the pipes go. Look at all those pipes. Where the electricity go, and where's all of this and that and the other thing go, and they make the plan. So the plan of a universe is the universal form. And the universal form plan was given to Brahma. Here's the ingredients, here's everything you need. Go. Build the universe. So he built the universe according to the plan of the Supreme Lord. There's 2 terms that in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's 10 main topics. And 2 of the 10 are what Vishnu does, Sarga, that's what Vishnu does, and what Brahma does, Visarga, the subcreation. Big topics, a big part of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam is those 2 out of the 10. It comes up several times. So after Brahma built the universe, he now has, the next service is, he has to fill up the universe with living entities. And so, Brahma being very powerful, he didn't take help from his wife, just from his own body. He manifested the firstborn living beings from him were the 4 Kumaras. All this is to help us understand who are the 4 Kumaras. And the 4 Kumaras were asked by their father. Who's their father? Lord Brahma. Very good. Lord Brahma asked his 4 sons, please help me fill up the universe with living entities. They said, oh, we don't want that service, because then we get entangled in material life. So we'll just stay brahmacharis, thank you. So as young boys, because their bodies didn't grow, they just stayed young boys. They're still young boys in the structure of the universe. They have several places in the universe. One of them is at the bottom of the universe, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Anantashesh. But you'll find that when you read Srimad Bhagavatam, the bottom of the universe, Canto 5, structure of the universe. That's one of their places. Hare Krishna. So the 4 Kumaras, they were curious. You know, young boys are curious. So they went here, they went there, they went all kinds of places. And they even went up to Vaikuntha, because they had mystic powers. They went all the way to Vaikuntha. But Jai and Vijay were at the gates of Vaikuntha. They said, sorry, 4 naked boys, you can't enter. You're not qualified. They, excuse me, excuse us, but you're not qualified. You don't know who's qualified, who's not qualified, and you're the gatekeepers? Shame on you. You don't belong in this spiritual world. You belong in the material world. So you can take your choice. 3 births as demons, or 5 births as devotees in the material world. What do you choose? Oh, this is an answer to our request. We take birth in the material world. We can be opposed to our Lord Narayana, and that will be very nice. That fulfills our desire. Look at that. And as the scuffle was going on at the gates of Vaikuntha, a message went to Lord Narayan. Your dear devotees, Jai and Vijay, are being cursed by the 4 Kumaras to become demons. Demons. 3 lifetimes as demons. He came immediately. It said he came in such a hurry he didn't even put his chappals on. Came in his bare feet. And the goddess of fortune came with him, because she's always with him. And she saw the whole thing. Aha! These 4 Kumaras, these Jai and Vijay, they're getting punished. This is good. 3 births in the mature world as demons. Very good. That's a good punishment for them. So Lord Narayan is very accurate. He fulfilled Lakshmi's desire. He fulfilled the 4 Kumaras' desire, and he filled Jai and Vijay's desire. Sometimes it gets a little complicated in life, doesn't it? But if you're Lord Narayan, you can sort it all out, no problem. If you're the rest of us, sometimes it doesn't get sorted out so easily. So Hiranyakasipu was one of those demons. The first, actually. He had a brother, because Jai and Vijay are brothers, or they're like twins. And so Hiranyakasipu had a brother, and they were born from the same mother, because they're brothers. And Kashyapa and Diti, they were their mother. Kashyapa and Diti, their mother and father. And Hiranyaksha, the younger brother, was killed by Lord Varaha. Long story. And then there's Hiranyakashipu. And Hiranyakashipu just got dismembered, discombobulated. Lord Nrsingadev came out of a pillar. We're going to see a number of paintings. Because Hiranyakashipu was so intimidated by his little son. You're so powerful. I'm the most powerful person in the universe. That when I just raise my eyebrows, the demigods tremble. And you're not afraid at all. And no matter what I do to try to harm you, nothing works. Where do you get your power? Answer. From the same place you do, Dad. From Lord Vishnu. Vishnu, oh no. Where is this Vishnu? He's everywhere. He's everywhere, oh no. Is he in this pillar? Lord Nrsingadev waved Hari Bol. Prahlada said, yeah, there, he's in that pillar. Because he's everywhere. So he took his sword, some say he punched, but he took his sword and smashed the pillar. Lord Nrsingadev emerged from the pillar. I have a little sound device. We're going to hear the roar of Lord Nrsingadev as he emerges from the pillar. You're going to like it, especially the youngsters in the room. And that's when that big battle took place. Lord Nrsingadev appeared, and there's Hiranyakashipu that just smashed the pillar. So what's going to happen next? There's a battle. Lord Nrsingadev finishes. He plays with him first, and then he finishes him. And then all the other associates of Hiranyakashipu, they come. Lord Nrsingadev finishes them. And he's roaring and roaring. The demigods come. This chapter 8 is a big chapter. They offer prayers. He's still roaring. And so then this chapter 9, as they decide, the Supreme Lord appeared for you, Prahlad, so you should come forward. And he'll become very calm. This fierce feature is terrifying. We understand it's meant for the demons, but it's terrifying. So that's chapter 9. And then Prahlad offers prayers. So that's what we're going to be doing for the next while. Here's the first verse. Evam Soradaya Sarve Brahma Rudra Sara. What's going on? There we go. There's the translation. The great Saint Narada Muni continued. So 7th canto starts with chapter 1. This is chapter 9, but in chapter 1, the scene in canto 7, I'm saying this for the benefit of the family, our host, and getting Srimad Bhagavatam. We're going to have a little arti for Srimad Bhagavatam. So, Canto 7, Chapter 1 begins right after the Rajasuya Yagya. The Rajasuya Yagya was a yagya, it's described later in the 10th canto, but it also happens chronologically, it happens earlier. And in the Rajasuya Yagya, one of the necessities of a Rajasuya Yagya is for the most honored person to speak. And Bhishma Dev says Krishna should speak because he's the most honored person. And he glorifies Krishna and glorifies Krishna and glorifies Krishna and glorifies Krishna. And one person in the audience can't take it. Shishupal. Shishupal was Krishna's cousin. Krishna had many cousins, but he was one. Shishupal's mother and Krishna's father were brother and sister. They're cousins. And when he heard Krishna being glorified again and again, he stood up and started insulting Krishna so badly. Arjuna drew his bow and arrow. Bhima drew his sword. They were going to chop him and finish him. Krishna stopped them. And he went on blaspheming Krishna 100 times because Krishna had given a promise to Shishupal's mother. Krishna had given a promise to Shishupal's mother, who was his aunt, that I won't harm your son unless he makes offenses 100 times. So when the bell rang, the 100 offenses bell rang, Krishna raised his Sudarshan chakra and severed the offensive speaking part of his body from the rest of his body. Right in the yagya arena, big bloody mess. Everyone was shocked. They cleaned up the mess and they went on with the yagya. And at the end, after the yagya was completed, there's Krishna seated on the elevated seat. There's Narada Muni at Krishna's feet. And there's Yudhisthira speaking to Yudhisthira because he was now the emperor after the Rajasuya Yagya, officially, the emperor of the world. They're in Indraprastha. He's the emperor of the world. And he's asking, Yudhisthira is asking Narada, how did this happen? How did Shishupal, who is so bad, get liberation? Because we saw the soul of Shishupal, when his head was severed from the rest of his body, the soul, like a light, rose into the air, hovered for some time, and then merged into Krishna's body. He was such a bad person. How did he get liberation? Good question, isn't it? He was so great yogis and ascetics and spiritualists of all kinds, they try for liberation. It's not easy. Many lifetimes they may spend. Shishupal got liberation. How did that happen? Please explain. So that's chapter 1. But Shishupal is in the third of the three demon forms. Shishupal and Dantavakra were the other demons, because Giant Vijay had to take 3 births. Shishupal and Dantavakra, not Kamsa, but Dantavakra, were Giant Vijay. And after their life, they entered into the body of Krishna. Our acharyas describe Shishupal entered into the body of Krishna, as did Dantavakra, but it was a temporary situation, and after which they returned to their position in Vaikuntha as gatekeepers or doorkeepers, or servants of Narayan, because that's all they were doing, service to Narayan, but in this way that looked like it was chivalry. So Narada is speaking. This is the beginning of chapter 9, because it's the whole canto. Narada is speaking. Narada is really gifted. He does many, many things in very amazing ways, and one of them is give lessons. because the person that he's speaking to is Yudhisthira, the whole canto. So he asked many questions about things, and Narada is giving answers. So the great Saint Narada continued, the demigods headed by Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and other great demigods dared not come forward before the Lord, who at that time was Manyu Samrambham. Angry. Very angry. Now there's sections where they offered prayers, that's in Canto 7, Chapter 8, but it was insufficient. The Lord was still very angry. So they requested Drishtva Tam Mahad Adbhutam. What is Adbhutam? Wonderful. Adbhuta Shringha. Right? Hiranyakasipu. Adbhuta Shringham. So Drishtva Tam, they saw this Mahad Adbhutam form. The goddess of fortune Lakshmi was requested to go before the Lord by all the demigods present, who, because of fear, could not do so. But even she had never seen such a wonderful and extraordinary form of the Lord, and thus she could not approach him. Now, commentary by our acharyas explains this. One of our acharyas who explains this is Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. That's explains, though she had seen Narasingha in a previous kalpa. What does a previous kalpa mean? A previous day of Brahma. What does that mean? Time moves in cycles, and there's small units of time, like day and night, or the seasons, months, and there's bigger cycles and smaller cycles and medium cycles. So one of those cycles of time is each day of Brahma is called a kalpa. And forms of the Lord appear commonly, not always, it's not a rule, but they commonly appear in each day of Brahma. So Lord Nrsingadev had appeared in a previous day of Brahma. And Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, saw that feature of him. However, and though Nrsimha is always present in Vaikuntha, the impression of not having previously seen or heard about this form was produced by the Leela Shakti in order to make everyone taste Adbhuta Rasa, or the mood of astonishment. And what's Leela Shakti? You know what, boys? You 4 or 5 boys over here. You know what Leela means? Leela? Pastime? Then we say Krishna Leela. You've heard that phrase. Not heard that phrase. Krishna Leela. Leela means pastime. So when Krishna performs pastimes, like lifting Govardhan Hill and whatever Krishna does, herding cows, playing with the cowherd boys, when Krishna does, whatever Krishna does, it's a Leela, it's a pastime. It's his internal spiritual potency acting to assist his happiness and intermingle with other living entities who are pure souls and have exchanges of love with them. That's called Krishna Leela. So this is one of the Leelas of Lord Nrsingadev, where the goddess of fortune, it was the Leela Shakti, or the potency of pastimes, such that the goddess of fortune couldn't remember seeing this form before, although she had seen the form before. It's the influence of, it's the pastime potency, so she could Adbhuta Shringa. Amazing, astonishing form. And we sing the Shringa prayers. Like in our temples, certainly here in Naperville, many temples, our younger boys and girls, they like to sing Nrsimha prayers at the end of Arti. This phrase, Adbhuta Shringha, is part of that prayer. Because Adbhuta Shringha, very astonishing form. So Goddess of Fortune is doing the same. Astonishing form. By the influence of Lila Shakti, so she could feel that emotion. The personality of Godhead is stimulating emotions, loving emotions in his devotees. And one of those loving emotions is, so he does this Nrsimhadev form for his pleasure and for the pleasure of his devotees, including the Goddess of Fortune. The third verse, thereafter Lord Brahma requested Prahlada Maharaj. Lord Brahma was one of the demigods who had witnessed this dismembering of Hiranyakasipu. Brahma requested Prahlada, who was standing very near him, my dear son, Lord Nrsimhadev was extremely angry at your demoniac father. Please, go forward and appease the Lord. He appeared for you because your father was harassing you so badly. He's angry at your father, but he appeared for you to protect you. So you're the right one. We aren't the ones that he came for. You're the one. So there's a nice painting. There you see on the left side, there's various demigods. And there's little Prahlada. And there's some dismembered personalities strewn about here and there. And there's a big host of people in the balcony seats in the back area. There's Lord Nrsimhadev seated on a big throne. And he's roaring. And he's roaring. Kripaya Pariplutaha. Very much afflicted in ecstasy, he placed his lotus hand, Karambhujam, that creates fearlessness, Krita Bhayam, upon Prahlada's head. There you see, he's placing his hand on Prahlada's head with demigods in the background watching the whole. So just as Prahlada approached, Lord Nrsimhadev's anger subsided, and he just extended his hand. When Lord Nrsimhadev saw the small boy Prahlada, Maharaj prostrated at the soles of his lotus feet. He became most ecstatic in affection. The mood changed from to affection for Prahlada. Just like that. Just like that. Raising Prahlada, the Lord placed his lotus hand upon the boy's head because his hand is always ready to create fearlessness in all of his devotees. Now, I did this background thing, so we're not going to get very far. I think we'll get to the point where he's going to start offering some prayers. Text number 6. By the touch of Lord Nrsimhadev's hand on Prahlada Maharaj's head, Prahlada was completely freed of all material contaminations and desires, as if he had been thoroughly cleansed. Therefore, he at once became transcendently situated, and all the symptoms of ecstasy became manifest in his body, his heart filled with love, and his eyes with tears, and thus he was able to completely capture the lotus feet of the Lord within the core of his heart. And this is just a warm-up. So we're getting the picture of what happened to Lord Nrsimhadev when Prahlada came before him. He hasn't spoken yet, but he knows the love that Prahlada has for him. And so his mood completely changes. He places his hand or paw on the head of Prahlada, and Prahlada is feeling something. We see what he's feeling. Ecstasy is erupting in his body, eyes filled with tears, heart filled with love, captured the lotus feet of Lord Nrsingadev within the core of his heart, and now he's getting ready to offer prayers. Look at this painting. Eye to eye. Who's looking at whom more intensely? Very beautiful painting. Manasa samahita. Prahlada Maharaj fixed his mind and sight upon Lord Nrsingadev with full attention, in complete trance. With a fixed mind, he began to offer prayers in love with a faltering voice. So we're about to hear his prayers. But first, some commentary. The ability to fix the mind in this way is the result of yoga siddhi, mystic perfection, as stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 12th canto. This is a phrase Prabhupada quoted many times, hundreds. This is a description of samadhi, or mystic perfection, of mind fixed. Dhyana avastita tadgatena manasa pashyantiyam yoginaha. Yoga doesn't just mean sitting postures. You go to a yoga class and you do some asanas. Maybe you do some pranayama, and that's yoga practice. No. Dhyana vastita. Dhyana, chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita, is called Dhyan Yoga. Dhyan is one of the stages in the Ashtanga Yoga system of fixing the mind upon the personality of Godhead. And the final is Samadhi. Dhyana Dharana Samadhi. Chapter 6, Bhagavad Gita. So dhyana, avastita, being situated in dhyan, tadgatena, tad is a pronoun, in having attained him, tadgatena, manasa, with his mind absorbed, pashyantiyam yoginaha, with the mind absorbed in the form of the Lord. Again, several hundred times in lectures, Prabhupada would refer to this phrase. This is what yoga is, and although we don't hear Prahlada Maharaj doing asanas and pranayama and those things, he had achieved that stage of spiritual perfection in yoga. One attains yogic perfection when he is freed from all material diversions that happen just by Lord Nrsingadev placing his hand on Prahlada's head, and his mind fixed upon the lotus feet of the Lord. This is called samadhi, or trance. That was text 7. Here's text 8. Here's the first of his prayers. The first of his prayers is humility. Good place to start, isn't it? Humility. How is it possible for me, who have been born in a family of asuras, to offer suitable prayers to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Even until now, all the demigods headed by Lord Brahma and all the saintly persons could not satisfy the Lord by streams of excellent words. Although such persons are very qualified, being in the mode of goodness, then what is to be said of me? I'm not at all qualified. You see on the left side, there's the demigods. They're bowing before the Lord. Prahlada is also bowing before the Lord, but his prayers, starting with his expression of humility, is very powerful. The Lord is pacified. No material qualification needed for bhakti. Big letters, right? That's this whole section. And I'll go through the section we're going to end, so get ready for the discussion if you want some topics discussed. Here's a nice painting of boys in the front row. Do you recognize who this is? It's an elephant, Gajendra. You've heard of his name before? This little boy likes to say he's got the answer. Gajendra is previously who was a king, The king's name was King Indradyumna. King Indradyumna had completed ruling his kingdom and was living in the forest, and was living up on a mountaintop in a forest area. And one sage came and wanted to have some water. But because King Indradyumna was absorbed in meditation, he didn't even recognize that there was somebody had come to his little cottage. Agastya Rishi. So Agastya cursed him, "What kind of personality are you? You don't even know how to receive a guest. You're just like an animal, not an uncultured animal. You should become an elephant." For offending a god. It wasn't intentional, but even unintentional, be careful. So he was cursed to become an elephant, so he became an elephant in his next life. And he was not only an elephant, he was a king of elephants, because he was a king. So one time when he and all the other elephants were bathing in a nice river, the elephants had gotten out, except Gajendra was still. Gaja means elephant, and Indra means king or lord. Gajendra, Gaja, Indra. He was the Indra, the leader amongst the elephants. So a crocodile chomped on his leg. So what do you do when a crocodile chomps on your leg? You resist. So he was resisting and resisting and resisting, and the big struggle went on for a long time. And the crocodile wasn't getting weak because the crocodile was in his element in the water. The Gajendra was getting weaker and weaker. And so he finally realized, I'm finished. Death was facing him. And when death was facing him, he somehow, we had this discussion yesterday evening about inspiration. From within his heart, who's in the heart of every living entity? Supreme Lord, right? The soul is there, and the Supreme Lord is also there. So within his heart, the Supreme Lord reminded him of his previous life as a king, King Indradyumna, and he was regularly reciting certain prayers to the Supreme Lord. And he started remembering that there was no other shelter but the Supreme Lord. So he took shelter of those prayers to the Supreme Lord. They just came into his mind. Even he's an elephant. They came into his mind from a previous life as a king. And he started from his heart calling out these prayers. And the Supreme Lord was so moved by his lovingly, feelingly, as if his life was dependent upon it, feelingly. It was dependent. He appeared in the sky. There's what the painting is showing. There's Lord Vishnu riding in the back of Garuda. And Gajendra saw Lord Vishnu descending from these prayers that he was reciting. And so he took a lotus flower, because what much he could do, and with his trunk he offered the lotus flower to Lord Vishnu. How nice. And what did Vishnu do? He protected him. How did he protect him? He took his Sudarshan chakra, separated the chomping part of the alligator from the rest of his body. The alligator was liberated because previously the alligator was a demigod who had been cursed to become an alligator. And so the demigod body came out of the alligator's body, and Gajendra was freed from this difficulty. And he now had remembered his previous life as a king and how it came to be that he became an elephant. So the point is, the Lord gives his protection. And the Lord gives his protection to one who has devotion for him. Special protection unto one who has devotion for him. So here's again Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writing, by bhakti the Lord was satisfied with Gajendra, and this indicates the extraordinary power of bhakti. Even from his previous life, He made a mistake. So he got a reaction from an offense, not just a mistake, an offense of a great sage. It wasn't even intentional, but he got a reaction. But bhakti is so strong, even with that reaction, it can be overcome. I have a trace of bhakti by the mercy of Narada, and this must please you. That's what Prahlada is saying to Lord Nrsingadev. What qualification? I have mucho disqualifications. Much disqualification. But some bhakti that was given to me by Narada, and that's why the Lord must be pleased. If a brahmana, so here's a celebrated verse, referred to many, many times, text 10. If a brahmana has all 12 of the Brahminical qualifications, but not a devotee, and is averse to the lotus feet of the Lord, he is certainly lower than a devotee who is a dog eater. Now, we don't find too many dog eater devotees. But supposing there were such a thing, then someone, their habits may be bad, but if they're a devotee, they're better, they're higher. And that if that dog-eater devotee has dedicated everything, mind, words, activities, wealth, and life to the Supreme Lord, such a devotee is better than such a brahmana, because such a devotee can purify his whole family, whereas a so-called brahmana in a position of false prestige cannot purify even himself. We just have 2 more verses, and we're going to finish. Here's text 11, another nice verse. This is Prahlad's 3rd verse, his prayer. The Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is always fully satisfied in himself. Therefore, when something is offered to him, the offering by the Lord's mercy is for the benefit of the devotee. For the Lord does not need service from anyone. To give an example, if one's face is decorated, the reflection of one's face in a mirror is also seen to be decorated. Like putting on tilak. Some of us put on tilak. And you don't see your face because you're seeing the reflection in the mirror. But as you're putting on tilak on your face, the reflection shows the tilak going onto your face. And so similarly, you decorate the Supreme Lord. Supposing it was Ram Nomi. Our devotees did a big series of activities to decorate the deity very nicely in the temple room and so forth. So as the idea is, by decorating the deity, they're decorating themselves. You get the idea. Deity worship has that effect. Externally, the deity is being decorated, but actually one's self is being decorated. But, actually the deity is being decorated, but one becomes decorated by decorating the deity. So then here's the last from this section. Whoops, we did the last from this section. This is another section. I'm going to end. Fear and fearlessness. What? There's a verse missing. I don't know what happened to it. I'll fix it. There's a verse missing. You want to recite the verse? You have your handheld device ready to do so many things. Why don't you recite the verse? I missed it. Text 12. You have it? No, just say it.
Therefore, although I was born in a demoniac family, I may without a doubt offer prayers to the Lord with full endeavor, as far as my intelligence allows. Anyone who has been forced by ignorance to enter the material world may be purified of material life if he offers prayers to the Lord and hears the Lord's glories.
Again, the process of Shravanam Kirtanam is being highlighted, featured. Shravanam, Kirtanam, hearing and chanting about Vishnu. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. This came earlier, by the way, in Prahlad's teachings. It's one of the teachings he gave to his father. What's the most wonderful thing you've learned? Devotional service to Vishnu. And there's 9 processes of devotional service. So it starts with Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. Okay. Probably been really challenging for you young boys that you don't know so much about this stuff to sit there peacefully. Congratulations for sitting there peacefully through all this stuff that you don't know anything about. It's worse than school, right? But thanks for being patient. Any comments or questions or discussion points?
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. My question is about the unintentional offense.
Unintentional offense.
I was just thinking that in Kali Yuga, most people are,
Keep going.
we all have different personalities and different emotional holes and vacuums. And even if one doesn't really, intend to offend, the other person may take offense, and that becomes an unintentional offense. It seems like it's just not even avoidable at all. Is that true, or am I?
The punchline of the question is what? Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as we exist, some people are going to like and some people are going to not like. We can't go out of existence either. That's not an option. It's unavoidable. If that's your question, it's unavoidable. Then what to do? Because you can't go out of existence. You exist, and some people will be pleased and some people will be displeased. Well, several things one can do. Maintain a mood of humility in service, knowing that even I'm maintaining a position of humility, some persons are not going to like me, or not like my service, or not going to like my humility, or not like something. It's just going to happen. But so stay in that mood of humble service. And the second thing, Prabhupada's teaching, is there's nice prayer. It's a Vaishnava general prayer where one prays I Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripasindubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Let me, from the core of my heart, continue to offer obeisances to the Vaishnavas. And the person who is most pleased, even if there's another person that's not pleased, the one who thinks that you offended them, Krishna will be pleased. But that's convenient, supposing one says that nice prayer and one doesn't mean it. Then it doesn't have the same effect. So there's a principle. The persons Prabhupada was asked a question, oh my gosh, there may be many circumstances, unknowingly I have offended, or people felt offended, what should I do? You try to avoid such circumstances honestly, with integrity, and you offer this prayer to the Vaishnavas daily. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu. Devotees are an ocean of kripa. Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. That's what we do. And still it can be some consequences. Yes. How strong is your voice? Microphone's not doing anything.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Just now, in connection with what Shatrupa Mataji was asking, and recently we went through Divida story, how Divida became an offender just by thinking. Lord Lakshmana was not being a real hero, and then he became a real offender even in Krishna Leela. Then I just wanted to make sure one thing I heard is right, that in Kali Yuga, the mental offenses are not, they are not real offenses. I just wanted to make sure again.
What's she saying?
Vidya,
Okay.
he often
Yes.
had mental offense, and it turned out to be real offense in Krishna Lila. So in Kali Yuga, there's no the mental offense is not counted. So is that the right understanding?
Clever. My answer is, yeah, but. The but is you continue in your mind to be offensive. What's going to happen? What's in comes out. Okay?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Don't hide behind that one. Not saying that you do, but we should not take a license, a Kali Yuga license. Mental offense, no problem. Yes.
I just had a quick question. I remembered, just based on this past time, I remembered when we went to South India and visited Lord Panaka Nrsingaswamy. And I'm forgetting the background on that deity specifically, but I was just wondering, was he in the same mood as this Nrsingadev, the
Yeah.
Ugra?
Yeah. I mean, the Nrsingadev has the same mood. He has a mood towards the demons and he has a mood towards the devotees. And Panaka Narasingha has the non-devotees don't go to see him. And the devotees that come to see him, he's very happy. And he accepts their service in various ways. Does that satisfy your question? Or is that not hitting the target?
No, yeah, because so there's some deities that are like in the angry form, and then there's some deities that are.
Oh, that's your question. Okay. Well, whether he's in an angry form or a smiling form, because sometimes he's in a smiling form, it's mercy for the devotees. Just like you've seen the deity in Mayapur?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So he's in an angry form. In fact, he's in the Sthanu Nrsinga. He's standing ready to pounce on Lord Nrsingadev, on Hiranyakasipu. But that is for the protection of the devotees, and that the devotees aren't intimidated. They know that they're being protected. So that fierce feature, it comes shortly in Prahlada's prayers. The fierce feature of Lord Nrsingadev is meant for Hiranyakasipu, not for the devotees. Did that do it for you?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else?
watching from my mother is actually watching from India.
Your mother is watching from India.
So she wants to know.
I hope the technology stays intact while she's watching from India.
So she wants to know, what does it really mean to surrender to the Lord?
What does it really mean? Oh, I thought I could tell you what it doesn't mean. What does it actually mean? Well, we've been discussing this a little bit in relation to Vibhishan. Your mother will know about Vibhishan and his surrender. And we've been discussing that Sri Vaishnava Acharyas write volumes and volumes and volumes on the whole of Ramayana as a treatise on surrender, or prapati, or sharanagati, or surrender. And so what does it really mean is there's a leaving aside of false ego and accepting the true ego. That the false ego is separate from the Supreme Lord, and the true ego is, I belong to the Supreme Lord. I am his part and parcel, and I am meant, my existence is for serving. The part is meant for serving the whole. My existence is for serving the Supreme, and nothing else. And that's what surrender is. It's a mood of submission, certainly, but there's some things that it's without also. False ego, no longer. And the utilization of whatever it is, that this is going to the I and mine conception. Your mom will know. Aham and mama. Aham, I. Mama, mine. So there's no longer the false ego conception of I or mine. The false ego conception of I and mine is taken away, and there's now a spiritual conception. Surrender really means there's a spiritual conception of I and mine. And who am I? I'm a living entity meant for Krishna's service. What's mine? Nothing is mine. Near mama. That anything that was in the category of mine is now Krishna's. So here we are in a nice house. And probably, almost for certain, there's a title to this house. And almost for certain, the title to the house has the name of the person who bought the house. There may be a mortgage on the title, and that's a lien holding person, but the title is the person whose name is on the property. So surrender means it's Krishna's house. I may have my name on the title, that's fine. That's just keeping within the law and practical dealings. But my consciousness is, this consciousness of surrender is, this is Krishna's house. And Krishna's house means, practical terms, it's meant for his service. So things don't go on in the house or with the house other than that which is in the service of Krishna. So there's all kinds of things that we do as a family in the house, but every one of those things is with the purpose in mind that Krishna is to be pleased. And that's going to immediately rule out some things that aren't going to happen in this house because it has nothing to do with Krishna being pleased. So that's what surrender means. I and mine is fully in Krishna's department. The false ego conception is dismissed, left behind. So generally speaking, it's a gradual process to get there. It's not an on and off. It's a gradual process to get there. But the cultivation is part of the surrender. The sadhana connected with getting there, that's also surrender. Until it becomes complete.
Thank you.
Okay. Looks like we're done. No, we're not done. You're
Hare Krishna
Hare
Maharaj.
Krishna.
Maharaj, this is something I see common between my father and me.
Ooh.
We are always struggling to overcome anger and develop more patience.
Really? An open admission, huh?
But still struggling.
Still struggling. So now what to do?
Any tips?
Any tips? Well, there's several, but the next section is on that topic. The next section is, the topic is fear and fearlessness, but one can also say anger and freedom from anger. When one is under the protection of Krishna, there's no fear. And when the purpose of life, because you're part and parcel of Krishna, is to serve the whole. The purpose of the part is to serve the whole. It's very simple. I mean, just that there's some philosophy behind it. Prabhupada likes the philosophy part. So here's my finger. Supposing my finger is disconnected from my body, somehow got severed from the body, it's lying on the floor. Yuck. It's besides yuck, it doesn't have any usefulness. However, when the finger is connected to the body, then it has usefulness, because its service, its usefulness is service to the whole. I want to scratch my head, or take prasadam, or perform arti for your Bhagavatam set, or something like that. And use my hand in service of the whole. The part is meant for the service of the whole. That's who we are. We're spiritual entities, part of the supreme entity, and when that consciousness becomes awakened, to the degree that that consciousness becomes awakened, then you'll overcome anger. Say it the other way. To the degree that consciousness is not awakened, there's still going to be a struggle due to identification with what I'm not. And when I'm identifying with what I'm not, then, but I still want to be happy. So I want to be happy in ways that are going to make me happy. So I do stuff in a way that has nothing to do with who I really am. And when the happiness doesn't come, then comes anger. Kamesha, Krodesha, Rajoguna, mode of passion. Rajoguna, sam udbhava. That's the mode of passion that's pushing to be an enjoyer, and when the enjoyment is frustrated, comes anger. So I'm expecting, look, I'm the enjoyer. You should know that I'm the enjoyer. And I have an expectation. The enjoyment is going to look like this. But you didn't do what I wanted. Or it didn't happen the way that I wanted. Not blaming somebody, but the circumstances, what the circumstance is. Now I'm frustrated. Anger. Kamesha, Krodesha. So how do you deal with that kama? That you transfer the desire to enjoy to let Krishna enjoy. That's bhakti. The material becomes spiritualized by taking the position of being who you really are. So now, supposing I'm not there yet, supposing I and my father have a little struggle with this one, and we have a notional idea, that's nice, but still it comes up because it just keeps coming up. So mold your life as far as possible, mold your life in the quality of goodness, starting with your eating habits, then chapter, you can look it up later, 17, chapter 17, Bhagavad Gita, text 15. Speech, that's the mode of goodness. The tongue, this is a key, it's a teaching of Rupa Goswami. You control the tongue, you can control the other senses, including the mind and anger. So the tongue has a function of vibrating and tasting. So let your speech be in the mode of goodness, and let your eating be in the mode of goodness. Control the tongue, and you're way ahead of the game in controlling anger. Control the tongue. Doesn't, I mean, it may seem like what? But that's how it works. And that, so tasting and vibrating. So that's supposing some urge, this you have trouble controlling. Here comes the urge, and you see it coming. And now the tendency is to say or do something that's harsh. We control the tongue by don't say something harsh, say something that's not harsh. In relation to the thing that's triggering the anger, even. And you practice and practice, and then your speech can be different because of controlling the tongue. And then slowly, 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 by controlling the tongue, you can control anger. And and chant regularly, and read Srimad Bhagavatam regularly. That's another way of using the tongue when it's not like an anger controlling situation. It's a cultivation situation. And don't expect that it's going to happen all of a sudden. It's generally speaking, controlling of a tendency takes some time. But you practice the positive, and the negative starts to diminish. You turn on the light brighter, the darkness is dispelled. That's how it works. Okay, we're going to end. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki. You know, I've been asked to do an arti, perform arti for Srimad Bhagavatam. So where's that? Is it set up? What? Oh, here's the Bhagavatam set. Okay, good.
I think this is better.
Hare Krishna. House. Breaking. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashatya Deshatarine Namaste Saraswati Deve Pracharine Vishesha Shunyavadi Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Ivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Guys, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Nitya Liya Pravishta Om Paramahamsa Parivijacharya Astatara Srisima. His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki Gaur Premanandi Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Gaur Premanandi.
Adbhuta Sringa.